today is sort of in three parts. So the first part is the three C's of clutter. So it's the cost, the causes, and the consequences. Then I'm going to be going on to the three P's of productivity, which is plan, purge, and the process. And then I'm going to be talking about organising styles, and there's four main organising styles that we have, and we all fit into one of those or a combination of the four. And then it's just a sort of a wrap up, and I've got a handout for you as well that you can follow along with at home.
And Kerry, just while you're there, we've had probably about 10 people this morning just to say, I think people are starting to get, other stuff happening with this COVID-19 situation. So we've had around 10 this morning saying, can I have the handout? So I'll definitely make sure those people get that as well. And
the other thing is at the end I'll be sharing, because of COVID, I called it the Corona Clutter Challenge. So I thought, well, while we're at home, this is when people can start looking at what's in their home, how their home affects them, how their home office can be set up. And I did a 30 days, 30 videos and 30 posts about the different things we can do to simplify our lives now that we did have the time, because we were self-isolating. So I'll go through that at the end.
Right.
So to get started, the three C's of clutter. So I'm going to do causes at the end because that's more involved, but obviously there's a cost involved in clutter, and it's about and organisation. So it's about the loss of things. We've got too much stuff. We can't find anything. We've lost bills. We haven't paid on time. We might have to pay a fine. We might miss appointments because we haven't got ourselves organised enough or have an organising system available that we can follow enough that we know where our appointments are, that we haven't missed anything. And even down to, getting out the door on time with the kids, making sure everything's organised that way. So it's different costs involved. But another, working with clients, you wouldn't believe the amount of times where we'll be going through things and they go, oh my God, here's these gift cards I got for Christmas, 3 years ago. And of course they're out of date, and they could have been, hundreds of dollars worth, but because they've lost them, they can't use them. Really? Or, they forgot to register the car, because these days we don't have the stickers, so they've missed the piece of paper and the car's not registered, they get a fine, all those sorts of costs.
Kerry, I'm interested. What percentage of the population has that as a gap?
Has what as a gap?
What has that as a gap? Like I just don't have those issues. I had the opposite issue. I had to learn.
Quite a few.
Too organised.
Well, when they come, when a client calls me, it's usually that they've gotten to that stage where it's just causing so much mental anguish that they just can't get through, have a system in place that helps them to make sure they're on top of everything. And especially when you're running a business and you're the person who is the jack of all trades, you're doing the website, you're doing the accounting, you're doing the marketing, whatever it is, you've got to have good systems in place so you don't drop the ball anywhere. Because a lot of times also they might have forgotten to invoice clients, they've just dropped the ball. And I mean, that's your income. So that's where the costs become a part of it. You either haven't paid somebody or they haven't paid you. So it's having these systems in place that, so you don't miss out on.
Well, you can't grow a business without systems.
This is true. Yes.
You just can't grow a business without having a system and a process. And if you're doing everything and and even if you have a lifestyle business, right, and you're growing it, it's not worth anything at the end of the day if it's only you, because nobody's going to buy. People don't buy people; they buy the system, right?
Yes.
So this is where you're going to build. Having these systems is going to help you build your business as well.
Yeah, exactly, and making sure, like I said, you don't drop the ball anywhere when it comes to the money. And as I said before, like clutter, it's not just about the physical stuff. It's about, like with hoarding, it's about the mental stress and anxiety you get from having things around you when you can't get things to work properly, or like we just said, it's just getting overwhelmed with the paperwork, trying to keep on track of everything. So my clients normally say, after I've done the session with them, I just feel so much lighter. I can't believe it's like something has been lifted off my shoulders. Just because we've dealt with the physical stuff, it all affects the way we think as well. So it's just clearing of the mental clutter. So that's an important one. So going on to the causes of clutter. So I don't know if you can see that if you've got your screens over the top like I do, but yeah, so let it go. Like I said, sorry if that's now got into your head, the song, but how do we let it go? How do we get to where we need to be? So overwhelm. So this is one of the causes. Overwhelm is probably the number one reason that people have trouble letting go or getting organised, is because where do I start? I've got so much stuff. I just don't know where to start. And I don't know if people have been watching, the Marie Kondo show, and she goes through and she, folds up the underwear into these perfect little squares or whatnot. That sort of does freak people out because they think, oh, I've got to get to that stage, where no, you don't at all. You can
That's
just
too big a
start.
chunk, Kerry, right?
Yes,
Because if
chunking it
you're
down,
here,
that's exactly it.
you've got to go over here.
Yeah,
Just, that'll throw you into even more overwhelm, right?
Yes, yeah, because thinking, oh, I've got to do my whole house in a weekend, or I've got to get the whole office system organised for Monday morning, where you just physically cannot do that. Physically and mentally, you cannot do that. So chunking it down into spots, which is also why I did that 30-day challenge. It's just do a little bit at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So just start with a drawer, start with something small, and you'd be surprised how the brain goes, oh, well, that wasn't too hard. I've managed to do that little drawer. I think I'll go on now to something else. Yeah. So then you get motivated, and then you can continue on. And, you might go, oh, God, that was awful just doing that drawer, but at least you got the drawer done.
And you'll feel good about it, right? You'll feel good about getting that one thing done.
Yes, exactly. And it's like a tick, you've got a list, so you tick it off, you go, okay, I've done that. And then the brain goes, oh, I've achieved something. So it's almost like we're tricking the brain into, thinking it's not that hard at all. Once you just start, then the rest sort of follows, like with any project, really, once you've made the first step. The next one is guilt. So guilt is about how we've spent money on items that have been expensive, or we've spent a lot of time doing this particular thing, and then we just go, oh, but I can't let it go because I spent months setting up this new system which is not working for you in your office. Or as here with this lovely jacket. This isn't my jacket. It is a sample of, I was at college, not earning much money. And what did I do? I went out and bought a $400 leather jacket. And I still have this jacket. And guess how many times, Sandy, I've worn this jacket? No.
Oh,
I have never worn the jacket. And it's a lovely jacket. It's a lovely brown leather jacket with these sort of details. And I still keep it now, one for the good, because I know how much.
You spend so much money on it.
Money, hey?
You spend so much money on it.
Yeah, well, that's right. And I was a college student. Like, that was big for me. That was, So the reason,
Kerry.
I could sell it on eBay, but now it's become a bit of a symbol, and I use it in my workshops to demonstrate this exact point, because we've got guilt and we think, oh, we can't, but the money's already been spent. The time's already been gone. So don't feel guilty over something that we can't change, and pass it on to someone else who would love it. Someone else would love this jacket with the studs on it, or someone else would like to hear about this course that you've done, or whatever. So just share and sort of make the most of the money.
Well, I think it's about getting your return on investment, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you've got your return on investment, long play given, yes. Kerry, very long play, but you've got your return on investment because you're using it in your work now.
That's right. Or with the jacket, if I'd worn it 20 times, well, 400 divided by 20, it brings the cost down, and that's fine. But naught, that's not good, just sitting.
Rain says you can write it off as a training tool. I like that, Rain. I'm thinking I'm going shopping today.
This is true, because everyone now after they've been to my workshops going, you still got the jacket? You still got the jacket? So I was like, well, yes, it's a prop now.
Very cool.
It was a gift. So this might not just be your mother-in-law giving you something for Christmas where you've just gone, oh, and now again with the guilt, I've got to keep it because mother-in-law will come over and she'll see it's not sitting on the mantelpiece or whatever. It could also be, when you go to conferences and you pick up all the different free things from all the different stall holders, or you get books and things, and think, oh, well, I've got to keep that because that reminds me of this conference, or I've got to keep
it one day.
Exactly. Yeah, that's coming up. You buy these, or you might have gone to some sort of item where someone has given it to you with a good intention.
Right.
And you just have to be able to say, well, thank you very much for the good intention, and let it go. But we feel we have to keep these items because, someone gave it to us, and that's not the case at all. Pass it on to someone else who'll love it. It was inherited. So, and again, this might not just be the fact that it's from your grandmother or your parents that have passed away and you've got the family heirlooms. It could be that you've bought your business from someone else and you've inherited their business systems, or you've gone to a new role in a workplace where you've inherited the systems of the person who used to have the role before you. So it's about, again, if it was actual physical things like this, you could say, okay, thank you very much. My mum loved it. My grandmother loved it. If it's stuck in a cupboard, you're not honouring the memory of that person. So again, pass it on to someone who would appreciate it.
That's a hard one too, isn't it?
What's that?
That's a hard one because the attachment isn't the thing, it's the memory of the loved one.
And there's so many different things you can do. Like my mum was a wonderful knitter. She knitted me this lovely jumper. When she passed away, I never wore the jumper because it was too sort of itchy around my neck. I then made it into a cushion cover. So that way I've still got mum's amazing skill that she had as a knitter, but it's not the jumper, which was I just had it in the cupboard, never to be seen, that was going to get moth-eaten. And the same with, the silverware. Silverware is a big one. We all inherit silverware from parents and grandparents. And these days you'll find that the younger generations aren't interested in antiques. They're not interested in, the beautiful dinner sets or whatever. So it's about finding people who that do love and appreciate these items rather than having them stuck in the cupboard.
Hoarders,
like I said.
Gary?
So many places you go to and you open up their cabinets and it's just full of all things that are never going to see the light of day. So
no, God love them.
I will need it when. So this is a big one with clients who might have, lost weight and they're keeping their fat clothes just in case, or vice versa. Or, the example I've used here is because of the business suits. I have still some business suits in my wardrobe thinking, but I might get a job back in corporate again that I'll need the business suit or a job interview, whatever, rather than passing them on to a charity like Dress for Success, where underprivileged women need, clothing so they can go to job interviews and they can go to work.
Yep, yes, it's a great charity.
It is.
Second Dressed, isn't it? Yes.
Although in Brisbane, it was Dress for Success. So I know around the world they have Dress for it's hard to say, Dress for Success.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just, clothing, it was, briefcases and all sorts of anything that a woman would need to get back into the workforce. So again, these business suits are gathering dust in my wardrobe because I think, I'll need it when, rather than passing them on. And if I do need it again, I can go and get another one. So not hanging on to the person you used to be, but thinking about who you are now is the I will need it when. But it will come in handy. So this is a big catch cry. This is mainly, and not being sexist here, but this is mainly a male thing. A male sort of trait, I should say. So, the male is a hunter-gatherer. He's thinking about, what I need to provide for my family, so I can't throw anything out because it will come in handy. So one of my episodes in the 30-day challenge, I got my husband to do it and he was in the garage and he came across tubs and tubs of these cables. And he's going, but we need this one in case, we move to a house and we need speaker cable. No one uses speaker cable these days. It's Bluetooth. Everything's Bluetooth. All the different things. If the Wi-Fi goes out, we'll need the ether cables. If this comes in, old laptops. But if my current laptop breaks down, then I'll need, this other spare laptop. So many clients I've worked with in their home office, and you open up a cupboard and it's full of, 10 phones that they've gone through, all the cords and chargers for cameras and stuff like that. And it's hard because they think, but if I break this, I'll need this. Or if something goes down, but even the old phones, if
maybe. or the connections changed,
That's right, exactly. The things have changed. If Armageddon comes and the Wi-Fi and the phone system goes down, I'll need one of those old rotary phones to, hook back into the wall to call people. So it's that stopping that mentality of, but if something goes wrong. And again, just being in the moment and going, okay, moving forward, I don't really need any of this. Half the time you can't pass it on to anyone either because it's out of date. That's a whole safety net mentality. And again, not being sexist, but this is more of a female trait. We have emotional connection to things. So just like I was saying with the things that we inherit, emotional connection is you've got an item and it might not be even worth anything. It could be a children's toy. So, which is why I've got this picture here. So the kid might have already said, hey, mum, I'm happy for it to go to charity or whatever. But the mum looks at this particular item and she remembers when, you know, little Billy was 1 year old and was playing with it. They have the story that goes with the item.
I have one of those, Terry. Look.
Ah, there we go.
I have one each from my children.
Oh, see, that's nice. So that's one thing. It's not like you've kept their whole Barbie townhouse or, you know, everything like that.
Boys, Terry, so that might be a bit. But just saying, not that there's anything wrong with that.
So it's not just the kids having to help them to let go and pass their old toys on to others who might need them. It's the parents sometimes that can be. But yeah, it's anything with any sort of story behind it. And as a professional organiser, that's what we do. We're not there to throw anything out or tell the client what to do. Our role is to help them through telling the story. So they need to tell the story about the item and then they'll be able to let it go. And again, when it comes to the office, it could just be, you know, when they go through paperwork, and paperwork in the office takes forever. But it could be that they find one of their first invoices back when they started and they went, oh, this was my first client and he was a lovely client. And there's still stories around all sorts of different items that we have that we need to let go of. Okay, the next part, Sandy, just tell me if I'm going. I mean, because of
no. I was just about to privately text you and say.
I better turn my phone back on. I can pop through these, no trouble at all. So, plan, purge, and process. So the whole idea is before you start, you have to have a plan. You have to have why you're doing, you know, what's the motivation behind it? What do you hope to achieve? What are your goals? What are your timelines? I want to have a new office system in place by December because I'm going to be building my client base by %. I need to have all these different things ready to go. So you need to have a plan, and that also keeps you motivated and on time. The process. So this is where, if I was to go into a client's house, it's about how we do it. So it's about picking up the one thing. You only touch everything once, whether it is paperwork, whether it's anything to do in the house. You ask yourself the 3 questions. Do I love it? Do I need it? Is it useful? If you can't answer yes to one of those questions, then you can let it go. It could be something as, you know, you've gone through and decluttered everything and sorted it into its piles and found out that you had 10 staplers. Do I love it? No, it's a stapler. Do I need it? Well, I've got 10 of them. Is it useful? Well, one is useful, but I can get rid of the other 9. And just by repeating those questions, it's just a way of getting through the process. And when it comes to paperwork, obviously, things like anything to do with tax, so you don't love it, but yes, you need it. So you need it for your tax purposes. You've got to keep them for 7 years. But each bit of paper has to be dealt with, and that's why home offices and workplaces can take so long to do, because there's no sort of physical gratification. You might take you a week to get through a pile of papers. And you go, oh, well, it doesn't look any different because it was just a pile. But again, it's that mental clarity that you're getting.
Clearing your brain, really.
Yeah, exactly. Knowing that you've gone through it all. This is the purge part. So as you're making these decisions on everything, you have your tubs there. So the keep tub is just the items that are going to be in that space. So if it's your home office and you've found, you know, some plates and dishes or things that don't belong there, that will go in the relocate. It's only things going back into that space. Donate to things that are worth something, that if you were someone going into a shop, you would buy. If you wouldn't pay money for it, don't put it in the donate pile, because that's only just causing more costs for charities to have to deal with it. And it does cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to deal with people's rubbish. They've just gone, oh, I just want to get rid of it, I'll donate, to get rid of their guilt about, you know, letting it go. Throw is self-explanatory, anything that's going in the trash. Yeah, and relocate. things that are going to any other area of the home, or if they're going back to whoever owned them. So if you're in the office and you've got the, you know, particular items from someone else that works in your office, everything has to go back to where it should belong. So that's the relocate one. Again, there's a lot to this process, but this is very just touching lightly onto, you know, what we do.
You actually have the buckets, Kerry?
I actually do have the buckets. I could take you down into my garage and show you the buckets. But yeah, they are, and it's those buckets that I use. They're just the, you know, $3 ones from the $2 shop or whatever they are. But you do need them on site. As soon as you touch something, it has to go into a bucket.
Otherwise, what you do is just move it from here to there, and you don't actually do anything, right?
No, and that's the thing. Back in your plan, you have to have a plan of where's stuff going to go. Is it going, do I put it straight into the car now and take it to charity? Is it going, do I need to call the shredding company and get them to come and bring their shredder out to shred my stuff? Do I need to, go to Uncle Billy's house and replace all the tools that are borrowed from him? You have to have your plan in place so it doesn't stay in those tubs in the house, because chances are that it'll end up coming back into it as well, and you want it gone. Yeah, you've made the hard decisions, you've told your stories, you need to get it out. So, okay, on to the organising style. So this is the fun one. As I said, there's 4 organising styles. There is the insight, out of sight, it's in here somewhere, and everything in its place. So the insight, I'm an insight organizer. If I am working on any particular projects, and I have, 1,000 things going at once, I have to have the paperwork out in front of me. And it might be on the floor. It's all organized, but I have to have it in sight, because if I don't have it in sight, I'll forget what I'm working on. My concentration won't be there, on my motivation to, I've got to do that. So I need to have it in sight. If I have it in a filing cabinet, all nice and neat, it won't stress me out, because I'll forget it's there and I won't go ahead and do all the different things. Yeah. So I'm a one with lists as well. I have to have lists where I tick everything off. I have to have it inside. I don't think you can see on I've got whiteboards everywhere. And I've got calendars with big boxes. I have to have everything inside so I can see it, not, in my phone or whatever. I have to be able to see it. And yeah, so if you want to stress someone out that has this organising style, go hide their stuff and put it in a filing cabinet, or tell them to put it in an app. And you go, that doesn't work for me.
Kerry, I also think it's finished if I don't see it.
Well, that's right, exactly. So once it goes back into the filing cabinet or into its nice, pretty folder and outside, then yeah, you do think it's finished and you don't have anything else to do. Which goes on to this one, out of sight. They are totally opposite. Having paperwork like that around them would totally stress them out. They have to have a very clean desk. They have to have everything. You'll find that their appointment style or their operating style is all online. Everything is done with apps on their phone or on their computer. They can't have paperwork. They probably don't have any paperwork because they don't print anything out. Their house might be very minimalistic, very sort of Scandinavian, no trinkets anywhere, or dust collectors. It has to be all clean spaces and minimalistic lines, because again, that will stress them out. Any sort of clutter will stress out these types of organisers. It's in here somewhere. Now, to the average person, you might look at this and go, oh my God, what a mess. But this is more of the creative brain. You'll find creative people have this sort of organising style, like artists with all their different materials everywhere, or scientists. I remember being at uni, and I would have to, go see my professor in his office, and there would just be textbooks and papers and stuff everywhere. But if you were to say, hey, can you find me your that tax return from 1984, they'd be able to put their hand in there and just take it out. So although it looks like it's mess, it's how their brain works, and it's a system that works for them. If you were to go in and go, I'll help out, Bob, because, I'll tidy up. Or, a client I had where the mother-in-law tried to buy me as a present for her daughter because she thought the daughter was cluttered. Can you imagine?
Yeah. That ain't going to work.
If you were to go in there and tidy this up, it would totally destroy this person's system and they would not be able to function. So we have to be very careful when it comes to other people's organising stuff. And if your kids happen to have, this is their room, sometimes you just have to say, look, shut the door, because again, if you're to tidy up their room and think we have to keep them all organized, that's not their style, and you just have to do their storage systems around how their brain works. So it's all about working out how people's
Mary,
brains
we've just got a
work.
quick question, and it's a good one.
Okay.
Is digital clutter, i.e. photos or various devices, etc., than physical? Do you see the same styles across physical and digital? I mean, you know, could this be a digital thing on your computer, like stuff everywhere?
Definitely. And the client I'm working with at the moment, this is her problem, in the fact that she is finding it hard to find things. So we have to structure. So again, I get out my big whiteboard and I say to her, if you were going to find this particular paperwork, she's a real estate agent, so she has lots of paperwork to do with all sorts of, you know, the selling and the contracts and whatever. If you were to look for this particular piece of paper, how would you find it? And then I will do a process up on the whiteboard to show how she could then file her systems. The stress that it causes when you open up your computer and there's just little files everywhere with no folders and no structure, and say you had a client that needs something straight away and you can't find it, the stress, you can just feel it build up in your body. So you need to be able to quickly put your finger on your files or on your photos. You know, if you don't spend the time and your photos are just done the whole, you know, big dump into Dropbox or the iCloud, and you need to go share something, you could spend hours. That's again the consequence of clutter, the hours you would spend in time trying to find things, trying to find a file.
If you can find it and it's not a problem, then it's only a problem if somebody else is looking at it and can't find it.
That's it. And this can happen in the workplace. If you're hit by a bus and you're, lying in hospital in a coma, and someone has to quickly take over your role or take over your projects, you need to have your workplace organisation into a system that someone else can find it. So it's got to work with your brain, but you also have to take into consideration if someone needs to find it, it has to have some sort of logical process to it, because otherwise no one's going to be able to help you. So there's that aspect to it as well. That's a whole nother ball game. There's a whole but yeah, so don't be too concerned, you know, if your children are like this, or, you know, the housemate might be like this, but if you can contain it to where their space is, then that's okay. Just shut the door. If it's then intruding onto the rest of the house, that's when it becomes a problem.
It starts creeping out of the bedroom.
That's right. Like a little tidal wave, out it comes. So that's the organising style, the 4 organising styles. So normally we can recognise, like I say, it could be bits and pieces from each one, but we sort of know, you know, the system you use in your office might be different to the system you use in your underwear drawer or whatever, but you can recognise yourself in one of these 4.
Carrie,
yeah?
I missed everything in its place. Is that
the last one?
Okay.
He was going to go, I know that these aren't me. There must be one more.
That's one more. So here we are. So everything in its place I'm part of this as well. If I come home and do not put my keys and my phone in the same place every time, I will lose it, because that's where my brain goes. Keys are there, the phone's there, everything in the kitchen has to be in a certain position. Well, make my tea or whatever. In the office, the same sort of thing. If you were in a workplace, you would find that this person might have labels on everything. So when you go to borrow Betty's stapler, it will have Betty's stapler labelled on it. So Betty then knows that she can go around to everyone else's desk and find, Bob's got Betty's stapler, that's mine. They might be also people that keep when you borrow a book or something, they keep a little tabs on where it's gone, so they can then follow up. But the good thing about everything in its place is it takes the stress off finding anything. So if you've got a home for everything, then that's where it will be. So when it comes time to, quickly got to find something for a meeting, you'll go to where you know it is, and it'll always be there rather than it's gone wandering. And then everything in its place is also very important for all sorts of organising styles, whether it is the one before, it's in here somewhere. He knows this is where his Vaseline sits at the thing. So when he uses his Vaseline, he'll put his Vaseline back in that Vaseline spot. If someone was to come along and move it and, pop it up behind the teddy there, he would be in stress. So as long as everything goes back to its home. And this is where organising and having systems in place at the end of the day, just 5 minutes before you leave the office, before you close up your computer, just put everything back, whether it's the files in their particular place or whatever it is, put everything back. And that can happen all around the house
And
as
that's
well.
a learned strategy regardless of what.
It is, it is.
Like
Yeah.
keep the to-do list, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The things that I used to install in my team all the time when I had a large team, just spend 10 minutes at the end of the day clearing out your head so you can go home
That's
and
right.
know that it's all there to know what to do the next day. Yeah.
Because the worst thing is turning up to work in the morning and having clutter and disorganisation start you to the day, because it puts you in a disorganised mindset before you even start. So you want to start the day fresh with everything organised, ready to go, not going, oh, now I've got to, get organised. And in the home, it's good to, if you have kids, to teach them early. So, okay, before we go to bed, kids, grab a basket. We're going to go around the house and we're going to take everything that's not in its place and we're going to go put it home. So we're going to put everything back to where it lives. And it gets the kids from an early stage into that good habit as well. So, yeah, it takes 5 minutes and that's part of my thing. This is very important because this is about the brain. It's about teaching the brain that, yes, it might have been hard to go through all and tell the stories and whatnot, but hey, I'm going to be rewarded at the end, or there's going to be a consequence if I don't do it. If you don't clear the dining room table, the consequence is you won't be able to have dinner with the family around the table. Everyone will be eating off trays in front of the TV or something like that. If I don't have this system in place in my office, that means for next week's tax time, it's going to be like an absolute nightmare. But the reward, depending if your brain works on reward or consequence, because normally one or the other, or a combination of both, but normally one or the other. A reward at the end, it could just be like, here, you're having a lovely cup of tea at the bath. It might be that, okay, I've gone and organised my wardrobe. Now I'm going to go out and buy myself a new shirt because I've decluttered all these things, and I'm going to celebrate that way by, purchasing something that I'm going to be using now for who I am now.
And
so
the reward could just be the feeling good too, right, Kerry? Because I always feel good when things are in their place.
It could be. And I mean, you're going to feel good regardless. But sometimes the brain just needs that extra little plug to keep it going. Because again, you want to keep this motivation going. So next time you think, oh God, now I've got to do, the third drawer down in the kitchen. Your brain goes, but at the end, that could mean that I get to bake some cookies or something like that. So, hey, it's not that bad. Let's get going. Or if I don't do the third drawer down in the kitchen and something happens that I won't be able to bake, whatever it is. But it does help to have something as a reward or as a consequence. Not a punishment, but a what if.
Carrot, right? Yep.
What's that?
People are either stick or carrot.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, we're rewarding. And this is also where if you make yourself accountable to other people, so tell others what you're doing. Say, hey, I'm actually spending the weekend decluttering my office, or I'm going through my wardrobe, and let them know. So then they'll say, hey, how's it going with that? Or how's it going with your garage? And having that sort of support or accountability really helps you to get motivated as well, because, you've got other people to report to. But also asking for help, because doing this on your own is really hard. You need someone else there to either tell the stories or to show the thing or to say, hey, what do you think about this? Having that connection with another person on site without any judgment, and they're not there to tell you to throw out things either, really does help. Those tips, the tip sheet that I've got you, I've got all sorts of different tips.
So we've just got another question. What if the two people who are right place people, but each has a different place? How do you sort this out? Oh,
that is, everyone has to have their own zone. It's just like any relationship. If you're talking about, if it's in your office, your own office, that's your organising style, and the other person has their own office. So at the moment, an example is, I've always had my own home office, but my husband is working from home now too. So I know having him around me is going to be disturbing, because he's more of a messy, creative, organising style. So I've popped him downstairs, and he can have that whole room for him to put his paperwork in his folders and the 10 different computer screens and everything going at once. And I just don't look down there. I just go, that's his space. That's for him to deal with. And if it stresses me out, don't go there. Don't, don't put yourself in that situation. And my office is my own office and I have it set up as I do. It's only when it's common areas. So just like in a workplace where everyone has to be on a roster to keep the kitchen clean or the stationery cupboard or whatever, when it comes to the house, if you're both, clutter bugs and your house is cluttered and you like it that way, so be it. It's no one else's business but your own. But if one person's very much a minimalistic, out of sight organizer and the other one is an in here somewhere organizer, and either way is going to stress the other one out, compromise. It's like any sort of marriage, any sort of relationship, whether it's in the home or in the office. It's about compromise and how you can share that space in a way that works with the other person.
So Kerry, the further question was for shared equipment, but that would go down to any, I share, for example, the car with my son, right? And I said to him before when he first got his license, I said, this will only work if there's no arguments. If there's one argument, it won't work because it's my car, right? I'm happy to share it with you if you stick to the times. And I set the boundaries really clearly of what I want. And it's the same thing with this as well, isn't it? Like, I don't mind you going into my kitchen and cooking your own dinner. You just need to make sure you clean up in
That's
a specific time. Because this is the thing. My clean up quickly means that you'll clean up before you even sit down and eat your dinner. Somebody else's clean up quickly may mean next week.
Yes. And that's the thing. If you, sometimes you have to step back and go, firstly, it's about that, it goes back to the planning stage. So when you first have that plan of myself and my son are going to share the car, draw up a plan and go, okay, so if you use the car for this many days, you have to have the petrol up to this particular level, you have to take out your McDonald's wrappers, etc., etc. So you just have some sort of rules in place. So that stops it happening, because the last thing you want to be doing is nagging your son all the time going, you didn't take out your wrappers, I got in the car, there was no petrol.
I was very clear with that. I just said if there's one problem, because he knows what I like and what I don't like, and he was very clear, one problem, then you don't get the car. It's a brand new car. He loves driving.
That's the consequence.
Right?
The reward could be, hey, you can have
boundaries very clearly in the beginning so that the expectations are met.
Yes, exactly. So like I said, the reward could be, well, you've been good, you can have it for the weekend. You've been bad, no, you're not going to get to use it. When it comes to such as, cleaning up in the kitchen before they sit down to eat, sometimes the person who is more, we look at, so your example, rather than getting angst about him not cleaning up before he eats, just go, well, isn't that good that he made his own dinner, or he made dinner for both of us, and just sort of take a step back and appreciate that and have a gratitude for the outcome. And then, he'll get back to cleaning when his sort of system works for him. But sometimes, I get a lot of questions about, I live with someone who is really messy and they just leave their mess everywhere and it stresses me out. I've asked them all the time to pick up. They never do. Sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and go, okay, if I want the house to look like I want it, I am going to have to pick up. You just have to resign yourself to the fact, if I want no socks on the floor, in the end, I'm going to be the one to have to pick them up, because I nag and nag. And all the nagging is doing is stressing you out. It's not stressing the other person out, because they're going, well, my sock's going to be picked up anyway. It's the stress that you're going to feel. So sometimes you just have to go, okay, the other person doesn't have the same organising style as me or the same view of clutter that I do. If I want my house to be a minimalistic house and not it's in here somewhere house, then I have to do something about it. And you hope that that is reciprocal.
Well, it's boundary setting, because you just set the boundaries, and then if it doesn't work for you, I'm sorry, but no, you're not using my kitchen.
It should be in the marriage contract. When it's husband and wife or something, it's in the marriage vows. You will clean up after yourself, just so they know beforehand, before we even move in together. So,
probably if you got married now, 30 years down the track, Kerry, it'd be a different wedding vow.
Well, that's right. Now, I think that's why no one even has vows anymore, isn't it? It's just like, I will love you for whatever, because they know, because you're coming with all the different baggages and habits and things like that. So
that's right. Now we've only got a couple of minutes. So
oh no, that's all right, because I'm at the end now.
Very
There we
good.
go. So that's the tips and tools handout that you'll be. I don't know if you've already got it or you'll be getting it. So that is just going through again the 3 Ps of the process and the purging, whatnot. And on the back is all some different tools, tips and tools to sort of help you get going. That was my Corona Clutter Challenge. So again, it was the 30 days while you've got the time in the house to go from the different areas and to declutter, to get organised. And if you want to see all the videos, they're on my YouTube channel. So if you just go to YouTube and go Workshops in Wellbeing with Kerry Rodley, they'll all pop up with 30 videos. And if you want to follow along with any other ways to get in contact with me, or there's my website, my socials.
And we'll have that on the 2-pager too, I will, Kerry.
Yes.
Details. So
yeah. So all done there. So if anyone's got any other further questions or no time, and yeah, you can, anytime you think of other questions, just send me an email or get in touch with me via LinkedIn or whatever, because that's what we're here for. We're here to, share each other's expertise. So
yeah. And Kerry, I do think it comes down to, it's an interesting thing, the boundary setting thing, because if we don't tell people what our rules are around what we want, then we can't assume that they're going to understand what that is. And I think this, I think with those communal spaces, as you said, in the house, I think that needs to be really clear. And then there's got to be consequences. My girlfriend used to call it the C word, the big consequences.
Yes.
If you do what happens, these are the consequences.
Well, that's right.
I think that's the same in everything that we do, whether it's this, our businesses, everything, So thank you for sharing that, because it gives us another way of looking through a different lens.
That's right. That's right. And
Kerry, I really liked how this is both valid for people in business and also at home.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It's a knowledge that just can flow through and help us all with any sort of well-being, regardless of whether it's personal or business.
Yes, and I think that came up in a question with another client. They said, well, I'm the minimalist organising style, but the guy in the desk next to me is everything it's in here somewhere. And she says, it stresses me out. When I come into work every morning and I see his crap, it stresses me out. And I said, you're just going to have to walk past his office or his desk going like that, because you can't change him. That's how he works. That's, let him be. So that's what it is. It's about allowing people to have their styles, but also letting them know beforehand, saying, look, I'm a very tidy person. I see you're messy. I'm just going to, serve my side. Hopefully your mess won't come over my side, whatever. Setting those boundaries and having a communication up front before it starts getting stressy, and then there starts getting, the angst and the resentment.
Kerry, having the communication up front, because what people often do is by the time they're at this limit, right?
It's too late,
right? And the other person's like, well, why? I've always been like that.
What did I do?
There's the judgment that goes with it, because there wasn't the understanding that there's 4 styles of how people are organized. Like, I've just got, in sight, out of sight, it's in here somewhere, and everything is in its place. Just knowing that when you look at other people, there's no judgment going, oh my God, they're messy.
Yeah.
Actually, it's in here somewhere kind of style.
They're creative. They're more a creative brain when it comes to, they just like having their stuff around them. And some people just like having stuff around them. And that's how hoarding does start, because the stuff is almost like a security blanket. So having all that gear, and it doesn't matter if it's just garbage bags or newspapers or whatever, it's like a security blanket for them. So for someone to come along and just start ripping out bringing in the big guns and ripping out, it's like ripping off their arm. So you really have to understand the reasons why people are the way they are before you start attacking their stuff, or before you start having any judgments, because you just don't know the story.
Yeah. And the feedback from everyone in the chat, Kerry, because you probably can't read it while talking. Yeah, lots of people have found that really quite interesting.
Yeah,
oh, good.
Styles. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And Karen says, like other styles, we have personality, behavioural, learning. We're all individuals.